Good morning, everybody. It's Tom Christie back in the painting studio. And I know it's been a little while since I've posted a video, and that's because I'm working on some projects for competition and also for the decoy company, Final Approach. And obviously I can't post things about those types of projects until competition is over or until Final Approach decoys hit the market. But in lieu of that, while I'm working on those projects, I did want to put together a short video on the painting of a Bufflehead Drake head. And this is a portion of a much longer video that I have for sale on my website at tomchristieart.com. That's about a 50 minute video from beginning to end on painting a Bufflehead Drake. And there are, I think, 14 other species over there, how-to painting videos. If you're interested in purchasing those, they're on my website at tomchristieart.com. This is a freebie on my YouTube channel because the head of a Bufflehead Drake is challenging, and I put together a series on carving a Bufflehead pair. If you're not familiar with that or haven't seen it, you can go to the playlist tab, and that'll bring up all of the playlists, and you can look at Bufflehead pair carving series, and that goes from beginning to end on how to carve those birds. I'll add this video to that playlist so that if you are down the road tackling a Bufflehead Drake, you'll have this video along with the how-to carving videos to hopefully help you out. This is one way of painting the Bufflehead Drake head, and it's a challenging little bird because there's a lot of different iridescent colors going on in that head, and I like to try to portray those colors as though they're catching some sunlight, and really it's a glorious little bird. So let's take a look at this, and hopefully this will be helpful. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do that because it helps me out, and it doesn't cost anything to do that, but it does help me out. All right, let's get going. Now I'm using a little scrubber with the off-white to go up here and paint in the eye patch, get that first coat on. That off-white is a mixture of white gesso with a little bit of, just a touch of Josania raw umber to knock it down to kind of an off-white instead of a bright white. Just a little return and back. Take that to the other side. Okay, so we've got those just blocked in. And then I'll also base coat the head in carbon black. And that'll be a good base for the iridescent work that we want to do up there later. Okay, I've got the head masked off. I'm not going to worry about the white patch with this iridescence. It'll be easy to go over that, and rather than try to mask it off, I'm just going to leave it the way it is. Same with the bill. And looking at the reference, there's a band of green. It kind of goes around the cheek area, fades into blue, fades into purple. I see a little bit of orange yellow in there, and then back to green back at the back of the head. So a lot of different layers of iridescence. So I'm going to be using chroma. So I've got chroma violet, chroma yellow green, chroma green, and chroma blue interference. And I'll be using those with the airbrush to kind of lay the base colors of that iridescence, and then we'll put detail over the top of that. Okay, I'm starting with the chroma green interference, and I'm gonna leave this cheek area pretty dark and just highlight, and I've through the eye, up over the crown, and back to the other side. My airbrush is not performing real well for me here, so I apologize for that. It's a love-hate relationship. But after a little cleaning, we got the job done, so there's a view of where we stand. Also gonna do a little green back here on the back edge. By the way, since this video is made, I invested in a new airbrush, same brand, but much happier. Like that. Now I'm gonna go with a pretty thin band of blue interference, following that green, maybe overlapping somewhat. So just starting at the top, getting a little bit of that blue interference mixed in with the green, and then a little bit on its own as well. Here's a view of that blue application. Now I've got chroma violet interference, and I want to lay that in next to the blue and kind of in this cheek area down below and back on the crown above. Each of these areas I hit a couple of times to build up the color over that black base. Real thin mix of that violet, so I'll probably hit that a couple of times to build up the color and dry it between coats. This is a quick shot with the masking removed, and it's a little bright right now, and that's okay. We're going to come through all of that with some detail work. We've got the green, the blue, the purple, and then back on the back side we've got the green again back here, the purple up on the crown and back. Just going back in with a filbert and the off-white and whitening this back up again. Had to go over that a couple of times to cover, and it looks like I need to go one more time here, and then we'll begin to put some details on the eye patch. I was just looking at my reference, and it looked like I had pulled this purple too far back. There's quite a bit of green that shows up on the rear of the head here, so I'm just using a little scrubber and a combination of the green and yellow-green interference paint, and just rather than going back to the airbrush, I'm just scrubbing a little on in that area to green that up a bit. You can see that. Now I'm going to take my detail brush in carbon black, and I want very thin kind of feather flow lines going through, and you don't want these to be all lined up in a row. You want a little bit of an offset as you put them in, and vary the thickness a little bit. And I'm pulling this right through the iridescence, and this will give us the appearance of some feather structure in the head. So I'm kind of tying into these lines down here, coming around the neck. I'm going to speed up the video so that we can watch this process, but it'll go a little faster this way. I'm just following the feather flow lines and the way the feathers flow down the face from the bill. You can see it starting to turn the corner there and line the feathers or these flow lines up with the bill. Pick up the cheeks there. Now we'll start on the crown at the back and kind of keep a center line in mind and pull the lines down from that center line. and kind of down and over the crown, down to towards the eye, as you can see there. Trying to get that feather flow all around the head through this iridescence. So it really gives the impression of layered feathers with that iridescence shining through. I'm also using the black then to go along the edge of this white patch, kind of following these flow lines up into the white area, and put some splits to soften that line. Speed this up a little bit. I'm going to do the same thing going up and over the crown. Just pay attention to the way the feathers flow. Now I'm taking some of the off-white and the detail brush and going back in the opposite direction. And just not every feather, but pull some of these white feathers down into the darker area. Now I'm taking some of the bright white gesso, and similar to what we did on the head here, I want to pull some, or on the darker part of the head, I want to pull some feather flow lines into this off-white area. And I'll speed this up so we can watch it develop, but I'm just going back and forth and keeping the feather layout kind of in mind and the way the feathers flow on the head, and creating those flow lines in the brighter white. And just follow the flow of the center line back here. So a quick shot, the back of the head where those light white marks come together. I'm taking some yellow-green interference paint in a very small scrubber and just coming in. You tend to see the tailing end of these feathers back here, and I'm just going in and putting a series of, I'll call them dots, that represent feather ends, and put a little more texture and structure in that area. There's also a little bit of orange, I'm going to call it orange rust, that shows up down in this area, so we'll do that as well. I've got a little gold oxide and I'm mixing it with the interference violet so that we're in this color family, and I'm going into this area between the violet and the green with my little scrubber and just putting a few color marks in there. And then using the scrubber, I can kind of do a soft little transition and blend into the adjacent colors and try to keep this nice and soft. So I'll keep working on that, but you can see it's just a little bit of a rusty orange hue down below. Just to finish that look, I'm taking some carbon black on the little scrubber, kind of going between my green highlights and putting some shadows in there, and that's going to give this some more look of texture. Just kind of randomly following the flow lines and going between the green dots and putting some various shapes, but some black dots, for lack of a better word, that kind of break things up and create more of a shadow look, so that this area right back here really looks textured, but it's all just smooth paint. That's looking pretty good. Just using a little Nimbus gray and putting a very slight indication of light feathers on the lower lid here. For the bill, I've got white gesso, a touch of raw umber, a touch of carbon black, and a touch of cobalt blue to give it just a slight blue-gray tint. And I'm just using a filbert to paint that on top and bottom. I'm adding a little bit more black and raw umber near the base of the bill and doing a wet on wet blend so the bill is darker near the face and then fades out to the lighter value as you go out to the end of the bill. I'm just going back and forth to get a nice blend between that darker value up near the face and the lighter value at the tip of the bill. It takes a little time to get a good blend. Now I'm using carbon black and the detail brush to paint in the nostrils and also the nail at the tip of the bill. I'm just using a little scrubber with some carbon black to soften this nail edge and blend a little black into the blue. Just mixed a tiny bit of that bill color with the off-white to give us a little bit of a gray shade, and I'm using that to go in and put a few more lines just sparingly into this head patch area. Don't want to overdo it, but it just gives a little more depth to that. So I'm not going to go through the whole area like that, but just in a few key places, like back here where the texture gets pretty deep. Just put a few shadows back there. And then kind of fade out as we go forward. So it just adds a little more texture, look to that white patch. We're getting close. I took a little blue interference, just a light wash and a little filbert, and just took the back of the head just a tinge bluer. Let this be the light green here, darker green back here, kind of blue green, light green on the side. All right, to finish things up, I seal the decoy with Tester's Dull Coat, a couple of coats, and then to put a little sheen on the bill, I masked off the head and I used Deft Semi-Gloss Finish. And if that's a little too shiny, sometimes I'll knock it down with a little matte finish or the dull coat. All right, well that shows you at least one way of painting a Bufflehead Drake's head, and I hope that video is helpful to you. And until next time, this is Tom Christie signing out. Thanks for all the feedback, the support, the encouragement. I really appreciate it. Good carving to all of you.